Hello everyone, in this demo we're going to look at the basic syntax of a for loop. So this is sort of a hello world meets loops program where we're just going to ask the user for how many greetings they want and then use a for loop to display that number of greetings to the user. So we'll declare a variable up here, num greetings, to hold on to how many greetings the user wants, and then we'll prompt them. So cout enter the number of greetings and see in the value of num greetings. Right, so we're going to design a loop that iterates this number of times and displays a simple greeting to the user at each step. So this is the type of task that's perfectly set up for a for loop because we know exactly how many times this loop needs to go. A while loop is often a better choice in scenarios where you don't know how many times something needs to repeat, but it does potentially need to repeat. This is a pretty classic for loop task. So the syntax for the for loop will be the keyword for, and then parentheses for the heading, and there are three parts that we have to typically fill in here. One is known as the initialization, the middle part is known as the check, and the last part is known as the updating part. So what we're going to do is, in this block of code here, we'll display a greeting, we'll also give a greeting number. We're going to introduce a variable purely to control how many times this loop runs, and we're going to declare it in this first part. So we're going to say int I equals 1, and this variable I is purely used to control how many times this loop goes. So we're going to say I is going to stay less than or equal to the value of num greetings. And at each step, we're going to add 1 to the value of I. So what happens when we come into this code block is this variable I is declared and initialized to 1. This check will be performed. So say the user enters 10 and they want 10 greetings. 1 is less than or equal to 10. It'll run the code within here. And then once it runs the code in here, it goes to this updating action for the next step. So again, I will be set to 1. Say we type in 10, that check is true. It'll run the code in here, print out some greeting, and then do an I++, which updates the value of I to 2. It'll go to the check, see if that's still true, run the code again, and that repeats until this check becomes false. So what we'll do is print out a greeting and also a number. So cout greeting number, and we'll display the value of I here just to see how that value changes within this loop. And we'll just say, hello there, user. All right, so I'm going to build this and run this at this point. This should show us how I changes through this loop. We should see it print 1 through 10 if the user types in 10. We should see it print 1 through 5 if the user types in 5, and so on. We'll also talk about some other design choices we could make up here that would cause this loop to run the same number of times. But let's just see how this is working at this point. Okay, so enter the number of greetings. Let's say I just want 5 greetings. So again, what's happening is the user types in the value 5 for num greetings. This loop begins. I is initialized to 1. The check is true, and then it'll print greeting number 1, hello there, user. After that statement's done with, it goes to the updating action. It'll add 1 to the value of I, come back and see if the check is still true. Well, it is, and then print greeting number 2, hello there, user. And then I gets updated to 3. 3 is still less than or equal to 5. We see greeting number 3. I gets updated to 4. Again, 4 is still less than or equal to 5. So we see greeting number 4. 4 gets kicked up to 5. 5 is still less than or equal to 5. So we see greeting number 5. And then this updating will kick I up to the value of 6 at the last step. That's when that check statement becomes false and the loop ends at that point. So again, this is nicely designed to sort of show the value of I as it steps through the loop. We could also have done this. A lot of computer scientists will begin counting at 0. So let's say I said, let's begin I at 0 and keep I less than num greetings. This will still run the same number of times, but you're going to see an issue with the output statement. So again, let's say I want 5 greetings. So I do see 5 greetings, but they begin counting at 0. So again, for the output statement, there's a very easy workaround to that. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things do output, but these numbers are all essentially off by 1. The workaround would be to print just I plus 1 within that statement. So again, 5 greetings, and again, that I plus 1 just basically adjusts that. And that's not changing the value of I, it's just using I plus 1 within that statement. This I plus plus is the one that's actually changing the value of I. So again, I'm going to go back to the way we originally had it. The using zero is often very common when you're working with certain things like arrays that you're going to study in your future in computer science. That's just to kind of preview that. Some loops will begin at zero in some context. This one, I think it makes sense to just go one to num greetings, including that value. It's very, intuitive for this scenario. So let's do 10 greetings. And again, we see greeting number 1 through 10 through that. So again, every for loop kind of needs three parts: the initialization, the check, and the update. And again, if the only place I'm using this variable is within this loop, we can declare it right here. This is both declaring and initializing the I variable. You could have declared I outside the loop and then set I to 1 here if you needed to use that value outside of it. But if the only role that this I variable is playing is to control how many times this loop runs, it's good style to just declare it right here in this first part of the for loop. Again, keep in mind this is a heading, so even though there's semicolons separating the three different parts of that, there is no semicolon at the end, and these braces just nicely group together any statements that are contained within that code block. So again, it's just a basic syntax for a for loop. Our next demo, we'll look at one that does a little bit more than just this hello world type scenario.